Hello and welcome to i-nastava. This is a lesson for the third grade of high school and my name is Helga Kraljik. I will be your English teacher today. The topic we will start talking about is sustainability. In today's lesson, you will be asked to define sustainability, to reflect on a quiz, and describe man's impact on nature, society, and economy. Then you will read a text in Croatian about a project called Eko Škole and then summarize it in English. For this lesson, you will need your notebook, something to write with, and a smartphone or laptop with internet connection. In order to do some exercises, you will have to pause the video. When you see the pause button on the screen, it will be your signal to pause the recording in order to do some exercises. Let us start now. I'm sure you've heard this many times in movies or TV series. When a lawyer yells objection and hopes for the judge to say sustained. Why? Does the judge in this case agree with the objection? Yes, she does. If the judge says objection sustained, it means they support it. What other verbs come to your mind when you hear the word sustain? Copy the verb sustain in your notebook and then add as many other verbs that you can think of with similar meaning. Think about it. I've already mentioned agree. Can you add more? Let me help you. Have a look at these verbs now. First of all, make sure you understand all of them, and then copy in your notebook next to the verb sustain only the ones that have similar meaning. You can pause the video now to complete the task. Are these the verbs that you copied in your notebook? Pause the video now to check your work. Read the verbs in the word cloud again. Now read the sentences in this task. As you can see, sometimes there's more than one possible answer. Choose the one you think suits the best, but also mind the form of the verb. Now, copy the sentences in your notebook and fill them in with the appropriate verb form. Compare your sentences to ours. The soil in this part of the world is not rich enough to sustain a large population. He's decided to stay at home and nurture their children. Did you know that during her driving test, she backed her car into a bicycle? They were accused of accepting illegal contributions. Are there many differences? I hope the form of the verbs, though, is the same. Please consult your teacher for more possible answers. When learning a new word, it is always a good idea to learn its other forms as well. In this case, these are the words that we will learn. Sustained, sustaining, sustainable, sustainably, sustainability. Copy them in your notebook and provide Croatian equivalents as well. Let us now use these words in sentences. Although this interactive task may seem quite easy, you will need to pay special attention to spelling while typing the words. Now, go to bit.ly sustain vocab or scan the code to access the task. Pause the video now and try to read these sentences out loud. They sound like tongue twisters, don't they? You will now read a document and write 5 words from the text that you think define sustainability. So please go to bit.ly what is sustainability or scan the code to access the text. You can compare your notes to your classmates' notes in your virtual classroom. Based on the text you've just read, answer these questions in your notebook. Mind you, you can always refer to the text. When you do this, please try not to copy the whole parts of the text. Instead, try retelling the main points. Read the questions now and write the answers in your notebook. Again, here are possible answers. You can compare them to yours and consult your teacher should you have any doubts. Based on the 3 pillars we've mentioned earlier and on the text, we can conclude that there are 3 types of resources when we talk about sustainability: natural, economic, and social. And that sustainable practices will have a long-term positive influence on our lives. Our past experiences have taught us that just preserving the environment is simply not enough, as social and economic issues need to be addressed simultaneously. Hence, sustainability needs to become an imperative in teaching. For most people, sustainability comes down to the kind of future we are leaving for the next generations. This is usually what motivates them to become more active citizens. Here is a scrambled definition of sustainable development. Try to unscramble it. Here's a little help. Copy the definition in your notebook. The concept of sustainable development was described in 1987 as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Here's a quote from the text you've just read. To what extent do you agree with it? Are the individuals the ones who have played a major role in developing our current environmental and social circumstances? What is the role of the people of today? Well, according to this quote, they, along with future generations, must create solutions and adapt. Speaking of actions that can be taken at individual and local level, let us see how your school and sustainability are connected. That is, how much do you take sustainability into account in your everyday life? You will now take a quiz called How Green is Your School? When you finish the quiz, you will need to write a reflection on it. In doing so, refer to these questions. Do you agree with the quiz and its results? What can you or what will you do to help your school become greener? And finally, How powerful do you think you are as an individual in terms of encouraging sustainable development? When expressing your opinion, not only about this quiz, but in general, you should use these expressions. When you copy them now in your notebook, don't forget to copy the commas as well. Here's the quiz. Go to bit.ly how green is your school or scan the code to take the quiz. When you finish, don't forget to rate the quiz and finally write a reflection on it. Before sending your work to your teacher, use this checklist to make sure you've done all the necessary activities. You like the idea of making your school greener, so you research the topic into greater detail. In doing so, you've come across a project called EcoSchole. Now you're hosting an international Erasmus Plus event, and you need to tell your Erasmus Plus partners what you have learned about this project. You will read the information about the project in Croatian and then brief your international Erasmus Plus partners about it in English. While preparing your briefing, make sure that your speech includes all relevant information about the project. When you speak, you need to speak fluently, and your language choices need to be appropriate, so prepare well. Now go to bit.ly EcoSchole to read about this project in Croatian. Prepare the briefing, covering all the points we've talked about, and then record yourself briefing your international Erasmus Plus partners in English, of course. You can use Walkaroo application. Before we do exit now, let us reflect on today's lesson. In your notebooks, write 3 things that you've learned today, 2 questions that you might still have concerning the topic of sustainability, and then finish with the opinion you have on the topic. This was our final activity for today. Goodbye and see you soon.